My name is Keaton Morrison, and this is my video assignment. The first question asks, if the ratio of tourists to locals is 2 to 3, and there are 40 tourists at an amateur surfing competition, how many locals are in attendance? So we know that we're working with the ratio of tourists to locals. So tourist to locals. And we know that it's 2 to 3. And there are 40 tourists. And we want to know how many locals. So the first thing I would do is I would set it as a fraction with 2 over 3. And then I would set that equal to another fraction. And I know that in the first one, the number 2 is the numerator and 2 represents the tourist. And I know that there's 40 tourists in the second fraction. So I do 40 as the numerator and then X as the denominator. And then I would multiply across to find it. So I would start by doing 2 times X and set that equal to 3 times 40. And I know that 3 times 40 is 120. So I do 2x equals 120. And then divide both sides by 2. And x equals 60. So there's 60 locals. So what I did was I made the fraction out of the ratio given to us, 2 to 3. So I put 2 over 3, and I know 2 represents tourists, and I have 40 tourists. So I do 40 over X, because X is the number of locals that we don't know. And then I multiply across 2 times X and 3 times 40. 2X equals 3 times 40. 2X equals 120. Divide by 2 on both sides. X equals 60 locals. So if there's 40 tourists and there's 60 locals. And then the second one, if 4 out of every 17 students prefer to write with a pens over pencil, what proportion of students prefer pens to pencils? So I would say, I would start by doing the similar thing. I would write it as a fraction. So I know 4 to 17, write it as a fraction, 4 over 17, and then divide it. So 4 divided by 17, rounded to the hundredths place, equals 0.24. And then if you move the decimal back 2 places, it's 24. So it'd be 24%. So I started by writing it as a simple ratio, 4 to 17, and then as a fraction, 4 over 17, and then just did the math. 4 divided by 17 is about 0.24, and then converted it to a percentage, to 24%. And the third question is, how do you know if a problem is a proportional relationship? You can know if a problem is a proportional relationship if the ratio is always the same. So if we were to work the same question from number 2 again and get the same result, it would be proportional. And that's how you would know.